Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Super Lunch Bros podcast, episode number 61. I am Brendan, and no Nate today. Sorry about last week. One, there wasn't a UFC fight. Two, I was on vacation. So today we're gonna go over UFC Fight Night, Rosenstruck versus Sakai. Some interesting things to talk about. Decent heavyweight fights, sloppy heavyweight fights, those kinds of things. And then also on top of that, we had some exciting fights. Well, a fight of the year candidate, and what else do we have? Some up and comers on this card that were looking pretty good. Some decent prospects. So if you could give the video a like, subscribe if you're not already. If you like the UFC, MMA, that's pretty much all we talk about here. If you like what we're doing, let somebody else know that what we're doing is pretty cool. And don't forget to engage because I will respond. So comment below. Let me know what you thought about the fights. If you disagree, if you agree with what I'm saying, that's awesome. Comment. I'll respond back to you. I get back to everybody who says anything on the video. So with all that being said, let's get to the fight, shall we? All right. The main event, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Augusto Sakai. Decent fight, I guess. I mean, it was fun while it lasted. I mean, not fun. I mean, it was pretty. Both fighters were very composed, not doing a whole lot. And then with 1 second left in the first round, Rozenstruik lands a big shot. Well, actually, he landed a big shot with like 5 seconds left, 10 seconds left again. And then through like a trip combo with like a hit to the back of the head, because it wasn't the hit that got him down on the ground, but Sakai goes down and then a couple shots kind of wobble him on the ground, and it makes it so he's going out. But there's 1 second left in the fight or the round, right? And Rozenstruik hasn't done anything crazy to where like he's not defending himself. He's still got his hands up. He's still got his arms up. He's still putting his knees in a defensive position. I think it was a really bad stoppage again. Now, Rozenstruik has 2 of these on his record now, 2 wins that are by bad stoppage. Now, do I think Rozenstruik won that round? Absolutely. He did the most damage, and he was going to win that round. Maybe he wins a fight early in the second round. I don't care. But stopping the fight with 1 second left when somebody is still defending themselves, I mean, Dominic Cruz should know this better than anybody else. Like, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised they didn't mention it on the card. There were some bad decisions on this card. There were some questionable judging decisions, questionable referee decisions, that kind of stuff, and this was one of them. I don't agree with the stoppage. I do agree that Rozenstruik looked great. I think he looked better than he did in his last fight against a guy who could actually strike. So, what do I think of him being at heavyweight? Throw him back in. Throw him back in. He's ranked number. What was he before this? Ranked number 4. Oh no, he was number 6. Yeah, throw him back in. Throw him back in there against, a Curtis Blades or a Derek Lewis, after he's done with the title shot or whatever. There's no reason for him to keep fighting people down lower in the rankings. You want to build this guy up. I mean, you think he's got enough wins in the UFC at this point to justify a title shot if he gets another win. So let's just do it. Let's not keep throwing people at him who are. I mean, this was a good fight for him because he's coming off of a loss, so I think this was fine. But I would, don't let him keep building up wins to build up his name. Well, that's the thing. It's a promotion. You probably want him to be a little bit more popular. So maybe one more fight against somebody who's not a good striker, and then hope he gets a win. At a heavyweight, though, that's pretty hard. I don't know. He's looked. How do I say this? He has looked mediocre against guys who can strike, and he's looked really good against guys who can't. So it's one of those things where do you take your chances with him and give him another striker to get an exciting fight, or do you give him somebody who can't strike and then hopefully get him a win? I wouldn't mind seeing him even fight like Walt Harris is coming off a loss. He's already ranked lower, so I wouldn't do that. Marcin Tybura coming off a win. Same card. Marcin Tybura should probably jump up to like 8 or 9. Augustus Sakai is going to drop down. Walt Harris is going to drop down. They were 8 and 9. Yeah, and Rosenstruck probably isn't going to go up, but he might jump ahead of Volkov. I don't believe he should, though. Nobody up top with Ngannou, Miocic, Lewis, Gane, Blades, Volkov. None of them have fought, therefore I don't believe any of them deserve to be dropped down, especially because Jairzinho hasn't beaten any of them. So, anyway, all right, that's it for the main event. I didn't really have, I don't have an opinion on it, like I said. I do have an opinion on it. I just don't want to keep talking about, bad decisions all the time because it's just a sour subject and I don't want to dig into it anymore. Man, kids, they just blast the TV and think that oh, nobody cares. Just turn volume all the way up to 100. Kids, dude. All right. Let's see. Walt Harris versus Marcin Tybura. I just talked about this. So Harris comes out, dude. If Harris had cardio, I think he'd be a monster. His takedown defense is okay. Tybura is good at takedowns. So I'm not, especially in the clinch and sweeps. I think Tybura is pretty good at that. At least in the UFC, he has been. Harris just looked great. In the beginning, he was rocking Tybura quite a bit, getting a lot of shots in. It's just hard. His cardio looked okay, but I think that's why he stopped the first takedown from Tybura, but then he couldn't stop the second one later on in the fight, and that's how he ended up getting the loss. So, what do I think should happen with Harris? I'd say go back to the drawing board, but at this point, what are we gonna do? I think we've seen what Harris is. He's an exciting action fighter early on in the fight, and he just, fades later on. I think he would be a fun fight against Derek Lewis because Derek Lewis doesn't go for takedowns. Derek Lewis just throws big hammers. Derek Lewis has no cardio. So I think they could make for an exciting fight. Harris could probably win that fight. I wouldn't mind seeing Harris against a lot of people still in the division. It's just, he's coming off of 3 losses now? Wow. Great voice crack there. Puberty does suck. Yeah, 3 losses. Overeem, Volkov, and Tybura. Yeah, all by TKO. So, he had I would say 4 wins in a row. The Arlovsky win got overturned, but whatever. Anyway, so he had 4 wins in a row, and now 3 losses in a row. Obviously he's not going to get cut. It's heavyweight. He's not that old for heavyweight. He's 37. They fight into their late 30s, early 40s at heavyweight, and he's still super fast, very athletic, hits hard. He's just, an older version. He's just an older version of oh, dang it. Now I forgot his name again. Anyway, I think he's going to be what he is at this point. Unless he does something crazy. He's already in his late 30s. I don't think he's changing anything that drastically to where he's going to be able to, change who he is as a fighter and really make it to that top 5 contention. That being said, as we say, there's always this disclaimer at heavyweight. 3 wins by knockout and you can get a title shot. Sometimes 2 wins by knockout, depending on the landscape. You can get a title shot. So I would never root him out. I think he's an excellent fighter. I'm not here just to shit on Walt Harris. Tybura's a tough customer. He's hard to put away. Look what he did with Derek Lewis. It took Derek Lewis forever to put Tybura out. It's good. It's a good fight, while it lasted. And I think Harris is going to be great. Tybura, on the other hand, what do we do with him? He's had wins. He's traded wins and losses at this point. And like I said earlier, maybe we give him Rosenstruck. Everybody else is matched up right now, so let's give him Rosenstruck and see how it goes. All right. Roman Dolidze versus Loriano Staropoli. Oh, by the way, yeah, hold on. I didn't even say it. Tybura ends up getting a TKO. I mean, I think I mentioned that offhandedly, but yeah, he weathered the storm early in the first round and then ends up getting a back mount and TKOing Walt Harris. Stop me if you've heard this before. All right. Dolidze versus Staropoli. So lots of control for Dolidze. I mean, and he didn't really do damage in the first round, didn't really do damage in the second round, and a little bit more in the third round, but nothing. So mainly what we had during this fight was Bisping and Dominic Cruz arguing. Friendly, I might add. I still think they're my favorite combo. I have grown to love Bisping, Dominic Cruz, and Brendan Fitzgerald. I think they are. I think they're my favorite crew. Maybe it's because I've heard them the most and I'm most familiar with them now because of fight nights, and they tend to do those. I just think with Dominic Cruz's expertise in wrestling and Michael Bisping's offhanded comments with everybody, the way he's playful, not taking himself too seriously anymore, the way he breaks down striking, because he's a striking specialist and he really does appreciate that more, you kind of get like that, not casual fan, because I don't think he's a casual fan, obviously. He's an MMA fighter. He was the UFC champion. I think he's a good representation of what the casual fan might want more, because he's more geared towards wanting to see some damage and striking, right? And what's funny is early on in the card he mentioned that in the Todorovic fight, he was like, yeah, like being an exciting fighter is fun, and having a good chin is great, but that's only fun until you lose. For 3 fights, that's a really good thing. But then, but I'm a fan favorite. But they were both shitting on that earlier, and then they get to this fight with Dolidze and Staropoli, and now Bisping just kind of like his patience wore thin, and he was like, you know what, screw this, I want to see some punches. So I don't care. I think the back and forth was excellent. I think they're very respectful. It doesn't get too heated. I think Dominic Cruz, I still think he's the best analyst in the game right now. I really do. I think he does a better job than DC. I know a lot of people like DC. I think he's too hyperbolic sometimes. I think Dominic Cruz is very level-headed, and he does what he's supposed to do perfectly. And then you've got Bisping, who throws in some color. It's the best blend, right? We're arguing about favorite ice cream here, as far as I'm concerned. I think all the announcing teams are fantastic, but the commentary last night, I think it really demonstrates why they're so good, is because during a boring fight, you're still interested in what's going on. And I think that's the big difference. This leads me into another thought. This is the big difference between the UFC and what we see in Bellator or ONE or even the PFL, is if you don't have a good commentary team, exciting fights are exciting fights. It doesn't matter where they're being fought, whether it's in your backyard or at the highest level in the biggest stadium in the UFC. It doesn't matter. An exciting fight is going to be exciting regardless. It's during the boring fights or the not so striking heavy fights, a lot of transition heavy fights, ground game, technical battles, those kinds of things. That's where your commentary team really elevates the product. And that's what I feel like the UFC has over everybody else right now as far as announcing goes, is their A, B, C team is far and away better than anybody else in the game. Now, it doesn't mean that Bellator is bad. I think Bellator has a great announcing team. It doesn't have the organic feel that the UFC does right now. Not yet. I think not Goldberg. He just got fired again. John McCarthy does an excellent job. I really do. It's just he needs more back and forth. He needs someone to bounce stuff off of him a little bit more, and I think they would have it down. Like I said, this is biased because I love Dominic Cruz. I love Michael Bisping now. I think Brandon Fitzgerald, like I said, he's really grown on me. I think he does his job so perfect. It's the best combo. And this fight, I'm not even talking about the fight. That's how boring this fight was for everybody to watch. Dolidze ends up winning by decision by holding on to him the entire time, which, again, I'm not going to sit here and shit on a guy for getting a win. He did what he had to do. He found the easiest way to victory, and then Staropoli the whole time is talking shit. And, after the fight, he's talking crap about getting hugged for 15 minutes. It's like, dude, I understand that you're frustrated, right, by his strategy and his decision to hold you. And I know it's the easy answer to say, "Well, get him off of you." And I kind of bounce back and forth myself because sometimes, like when the guy I want to win, gets hugged, I do get upset too, right? Like I want to see them go out there. Let me bang, bro. I do want to see them get out there. I want to see them start throwing some punches back and forth. It's just for me, watching this with the commentary made it plenty fine. I never once wanted to walk away from the screen. So good job to Lise. I mean, I think he looks good for a middleweight, good grappling, and all the shit you want to talk about him holding. If Staropoli wants to win in the UFC, he's gonna have to stop grapplers. It's just what it is, and even non-grapplers, because if you get taken down or controlled, like he wasn't even taken down completely. Delise just had his hands clasped together and had control of him for 15 minutes essentially. I know there were takedowns, but Staropoli couldn't even get out of that. That's bad news. Like that's just not good strategy. And I don't care who you are. If I could do that to you for 15 minutes, and I felt that you couldn't get out of it, I mean, what's my incentive to start to back away and start throwing punches and get hit back? Bisping mentioned earlier in the broadcast, he's like, the goal is to punch and not get punched, not take one to give one. Like it's okay to do that, later in the fight when you're both tired. We'll get to that in a second. It's just I feel like the real reason why this one was so jarring is because of the fight that preceded it with Santanaggio Ponzinibbio and Miguel Baeza. Holy crap, this fight was good. Baeza coming out strong in the beginning with these leg kicks, and you think he's going to put Ponzinibbio out just because like Ponzinibbio starts, like his left leg starts slipping on the ground. He doesn't have a lot of control over his foot anymore. And like the first round clearly went to Baeza. And then the second round, Baeza coming out. I mean, Ponzinibbio still throwing back, still looking strong, and like I said, he didn't give up. Right? You thought he was going to, but he didn't. And then in the second round, he starts landing his jab a little bit more, throwing some bigger shots, and Baeza's still throwing leg kicks. He's still throwing, lands big, and like rocks Ponzinibbio early in the second round. Didn't matter. Ponzinibbio just kept moving forward, landing the jab, and then in the last sequence with the last 30 seconds the last half of the second round, Ponzinibbio really, felt like he started to take over, and then in the last 30 seconds, he lands a big barrage. And he didn't rock Baeza, I don't think, but definitely gave him that round for me. By the way, Baeza looks gigantic for a welterweight. He just does. He's huge. Big reach, tall guy. Yeah, so, and then the third round, I was just looking at my notes. So in the third round, Ponzinibbio did more of the same that he did in the second round, late in the second round, landing his jab, landing big shots. Baeza landing back. They went back and forth. I think they didn't illustrate it enough because it was so exciting, but Ponzinibbio was outlanding Baeza pretty much the entire fight after like the second half of the first round. Even though he was maybe taking a lot of visible damage on his leg, he was still striking back and landing, right? So I think the whole back and forth thing was a little bit overblown. Not ton. Like I'm not complaining. I think it's based off appearances. Baeza was throwing big, but he wasn't landing as much as Ponzinibbio was. Ponzinibbio's jab, that stiff jab, was landing so much, and then he rocks Baeza. They go to the last second throwing at each other, and Ponzinibbio getting a great decision victory. Excellent fight. Very technical early on, brawly in the last little bit. It's got everything that MMA fans want as far as striking goes. I think it was an excellent fight. Ponzinibbio looks fantastic. I think he's won 9 of his last 10. But the problem is, he's been out for like 2 years, a year and a half. Nobody wanted to fight him, and he got injured. Yeah, dude, come on. That's not fair. This guy only has 4 losses on his record, and he's fought great fighters the entire time. Okay, maybe not the entire time, but a lot of good fighters. It loses to Ryan LaFleur. Oh my God, that's a throwback. Back in 2012, in his first fight in the UFC. And then he beats Wendell Oliveira, Sean Strickland. That's a good win. Loses to Lorenz Larkin. It's no longer in the UFC, but whatever. Andreas Stahl, Court McGee, Zach Cummings, Nordine Taleb, Gunnar Nelson, Mike Perry, Neil Magny. All of those wins, right? 3 TKOs, decision, KO, decision against Perry. But, he did a ton of damage in that. And then knocks out Neil Magny back in 2018. Loses to Li Jingliang earlier this year, right? He got knocked out by Li, and then he beats Miguel Baeza. Like, dude, I don't know. I feel like he's gone through the ringer, and I just think that the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 7-fight win streak that he had should have put him in another position to fight someone other than Li Jingliang, especially at that point. I don't know. I would have put him, especially with his last win coming over Neil Magny. Before that, Neil Magny's ranked 8 now, but he was higher. I don't know about that. Ponzinibbio deserves to be in the rankings for sure. And, it wasn't a fluke win by Li, but, I think he's a better fighter than Li Jingliang is. So, anyway, Ponzinibbio's not young. He needs to get out there. He's pushing. He's 34, so he needs to get out there and really push for a title shot as soon as possible. All right, Dusko Todorovic versus Gregory Rodriguez. Rodriguez coming off of, I think he was the LFA champ. He took this fight on short notice. And Dusko Todorovic, both Contender Series vets. I thought the fight was relatively fun, back and forth. I didn't think it was close. I think Rodriguez clearly did enough to win the fight the entire time. Todorovic did a better job moving his head, but still was getting caught a lot. Rodriguez was just quicker to the draw the entire time, always first, throwing more, being more active. And I think that's what got him, because the striking count wasn't that far off. Like, they were actually very close. The difference is Gregory was able to push pressure forward, push him back to the fence a lot, and he was throwing a lot, even though he was missing. He was throwing a lot more punches, and it gives the appearance of pressure. Not the appearance of pressure. It does apply pressure, but it gives the appearance of activity. So that's always going to sway. Like, we've been over this 100 times. If damage is equal, now we have to go to look to more factors. Octagon control. If that's equal, then who is more active? And Rodriguez was more active, and he had more control. So I don't think it was a. And part of it is Todorovic. I think he's one of those guys who never feels like he's losing a fight because his chin is so good, and because he does move with punches very well. So it might look like he's getting caught flush, but he actually flows with the punches pretty good. So he doesn't feel hurt. He doesn't feel like the punch did any damage, but that doesn't matter because appearance is everything. And now he's got 2 losses in a row. So I think he needs to go back to the drawing board with his approach to fights and really reevaluate what's going on here. So I think he's going to be a good fighter if he can put it together. I think it's going to be interesting watching him go forward. And Rodriguez looks great. I think he has a lot of tools, and he looks like a standard, journeyman fighter with the ability to maybe move up. He's relatively young, but he looks like he's 1,000 years old. He's taken a lot of damage, apparently. All right. Montana De La Rosa. Great grappling against Ariane Lipski. Lipski looks good when she's on the feet, kind of, but De La Rosa was able to take her down. So if Lipski wants to win in the UFC, she's going to have to stop takedowns. It is what it is. And we've been over this already on this card even. De La Rosa gets a TKO in round 2. Lipski just needs to stop takedowns. All right, we got Tanner Boser in a weird fight against Ilir Latifi. Ilir Latifi looked fine. I probably wouldn't have given him the win. I think Boser did enough to win the fight, even though Latifi got more takedowns and more time on top, I guess. I think that was a bad decision. I would have given. It's a split decision. I would have given the decision to Boser. I don't know. The 2 judges saw it towards Latifi. I didn't. Francisco Trinaldo having a weird fight against Salikov. The eye pokes playing a factor in this one, as well as some other ones. Let's see. Makwan Amirkhani versus Kamuela Kirk. Kirk looked really good. I think he was better on the feet when he was. He was more definitive on the ground. Good win for him versus Makwan Amirkhani. Amirkhani, I think he's just going to be a journeyman fighter. I don't think he's ever going to step it up. He just hasn't shown me anything that shows that like he's got what it takes. Alan Patrick versus Mason Jones. Patrick comes out crazy, starts throwing shit, going all over the place. He lands some big shots, I guess, but Mason Jones is not affected by them. And then Jones starts really putting it on Patrick by the end of the first round, and then in the second round, again, more of the same from the end of the first round. Patrick's tired. Jones is putting it on him, and then there's an accidental eye poke, and then Patrick doesn't want to continue. All right. I don't care for this end because Mason Jones clearly won the fight. That being said, I have to be fair. Just because I don't like Patrick doing this doesn't mean I should begrudge him for doing it, right? I said before, if you don't feel like you can continue, then you shouldn't. And he was poked in the eye so bad that he couldn't see. It is what it is. I've seen it go worse ways. Mason Jones didn't want to touch gloves after the fight. Maybe that's because they could rematch and he doesn't want to like squash anything right now. It could be because he was pissed off at him. It is what it is. I don't think it was that bad. I'm not in there. He got poked in the eye. It is what it is. He was losing the fight. I think Patrick is not as good of a fighter as Mason Jones. I think Mason Jones was way better winning the fight, and I think he's probably going to move up, and Patrick probably stays the same. But Jones did poke him, and here we go again with eye pokes changing the landscape of the UFC. I hate this shit. I really do. Get some different gloves. It's not that freaking hard. It's really not. And I know, like, normally, when fans say things like, oh, just stop the takedown, or, oh, just do more leg kicks, stop the kick. Yeah, I understand that can be stupid to listen to all the time, but this is one where the UFC could really just fucking do it. Change the damn gloves so that that naturally curls your fingers in. It's not that hard because there's other gloves out there that exist like that. Jeez. God, this is so stupid. It's not going to stop eye pokes. It's just going to make them happen less often. That's all. That's all we're looking for. Maybe even if it reduces it by 15%, 10%, right? That's better than what we have now. So just do it. Manon Fiorot versus Tabitha Ricci. Ricci coming up on short notice. She was clearly a smaller fighter, coming up to flyweight just to be in the UFC, get her first fight in the UFC. Fiorot, dude, she hits hard, and she's got crisp striking. Her head movement's a little questionable, so I like her moving forward in the division. If someone else wants to bang with her and can crack, she's going to have some problems, but she's big. She hits hard. I mean, she looked big because of Ricci's tiny. But she's got crisp striking. She punches hard. It's not that, crappy half-ass punching that we see a lot in women's MMA, or that we've seen a lot in the history of women's MMA. I think she's definitely an evolved striker. She looks really good. Not a scrappy fighter. Yeah, good win. Sean Woodson getting the decision win over Yusuf Zalal. I don't know what to think about him. I think he's got a really weird body shape. He's got really skinny legs, long arms, and he's tall for the division. I think he's going to have problems at featherweight unless he does something special. Like he hasn't shown me that he's so hard to win against because Zalal could have gotten that decision. I wouldn't have given it to him, but and then Claudio Puig versus Jordan Levitt. Claudio getting the win, a 3-round decision. All right, that's it. I really do want to break down this card, but I gotta go. UFC 263 coming up this weekend. Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori, Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno, and Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz. Damian Maia versus Bilal Muhammad. Paul Craig versus Jamal Hill. Great fights. Awesome card. That's just the main card. The prelims are pretty fire. Drew Dober, Brad Riddell, Eric Anders, fun. Darren Stewart, Lauren Murphy versus Joanne Calderwood. Oh, man, Dawodu. Frank Camacho. Chase Hooper is on the early prelims against Steven Peterson. Oh, man. Maybe I'll just go over the first couple fights. Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori. I'm leaning towards Adesanya. All right. I don't know how good Adesanya is at middleweight with a guy who wants to grapple with him that got the better in the grappling exchanges the first time they fought. It was a split decision. I went back and watched it. I agree with the decision. I think Adesanya obviously won that fight. Marvin Vettori, on the other hand, has gotten better, but has he gotten as much better as Israel Adesanya? I don't think so. And I know I've been riding the Marvin Vettori train, and I've been preaching and saying that he should be getting the title shot eventually, and he's the dark horse of the division, and I still believe that. It's not like I think he doesn't have a chance to win. I do. He's one of those guys. He's tough to put away. He's fucking tough as nails. He wants to go out there, and he's just gritty. He wants to get the win, and he believes that he should be the champion. He really does. So he can beat Israel Adesanya, but I'm leaning towards Adesanya. I'd probably give it like a 60-40 or 70-30 for Adesanya. Unless Vettori comes out there and can do what... Oh, good grief. Jan did to him. If he can do what Jan did to him, he can get the win. Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. It was fire the first time. It's going to be fire this time. I have no freaking idea. There's a split decision last time. Or what was it? A draw last time? There's a reason why they're running it back. What sucks is like Deiveson Figueiredo hasn't had a signature. Yeah, it was a draw. Yeah, a majority draw from the first fight. It's... Oh, Alex Perez, where Perez was looking really good, though, and he ended up getting the submission, the guillotine against him. It's just been hard to root for this guy. Figueiredo misses weight against Benavidez the first time, so he can't get it. Then he gets a rear naked choke against Benavidez to get the belt officially, right? Because nobody had the belt, and he didn't beat the guy who had the belt to begin with, Triple C. Gets a win against Alex Perez, but looks beatable in it. It looked good, like really good, but he got cracked. And then now he has a draw against Brandon Moreno. It's hard to root for this guy, or not root for him. I guess if you're a fan of his, you'll root for him. I just mean, like, there's nothing about him that stands out as like the dominant champion at flyweight. Like, he's the champ, and he did what he needed to do in the time that he needed to do it in. But I don't think he's done anything to warrant like any sort of greatness or anything like that. That might be, like, I don't think he's done anything that crazy. Let's put it that way. I think he's an excellent fighter, by the way. I think he's fantastic. He hits hard, great cardio, like good submissions. He's a flyweight. But Brandon Moreno, if he can put it, like, if he goes out there and cracks this time, like, I think Brandon Moreno could get it done, because he hurt Figueiredo multiple times. Let's see. Leon Edwards finally getting another fight against Nate Diaz for some reason. We've been over this. We've talked about it when they booked it. I think it's stupid. Leon Edwards probably gets the win, and Nate Diaz gets another publicity fight in a main card so he can call someone out even if he loses. Damian Maia may be getting his retirement fight right now against Belal Muhammad. Tough fight for Belal because... even when you win, no one's going to say, like, ooh, what a win. You beat an old Damian Maia who was never good at striking. Like, if he went out there and submitted Damian Maia, now people are going to talk. But if you go out there and knock out Damian Maia or take him to a decision, I don't think anybody's going to care. It's a nice name to have on your record, but to anybody who does know, Damian Maia isn't what he used to be. And unless you submit him, no one's talking about you afterwards. And then Paul Craig fighting Jamal Hill. Paul Craig's like one of those scrappy light heavyweights who's a good grappler with okay striking, and Jamal Hill hits really freaking hard. So that's gonna be a fun card. I can't wait for Saturday. All right, thanks all for sticking through this. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you like what we're doing here, please tell other people, and then comment below. Let me know what you thought about all these fights, the fights coming up. Give me your predictions for the fights coming up. We'll talk about it in the comments below. I respond to everybody. All right, I gotta get going. I hope everybody has an amazing day.